Story 1. Am I the a hole for not giving my daughter a car for her 16th birthday and cutting her off financially? I, 48 male, have a daughter, Lisa, 15 female, from my first marriage. I'm not on particularly good terms with her mother, and Lisa unfortunately became an outlet for her resentment towards me, which ended up souring our relationship massively. Lisa is a good person, but unfortunately, she takes after her mom in terms of demeanor and often acts rude and entitled. A few years ago, I married again. Lisa decided to not attend my wedding and she said a bunch of hurtful things to my then fiance, Rosemary, 38 female. Since then, our relationship got even worse. When Rosemary and I welcomed our son a year and a half ago, Lisa sent me a text saying that since I have my perfect baby now, I could stop pestering her and trying to play family with her. It hurt me deeply, and I ended up distancing myself from her, his daughter, mind you, though I kept sending her $100 a month as her allowance. Recently, we had an unplanned addition to our family. Long story short, Rosemary's sister, who wasn't a good parent to start with, terminated her custody rights over her son Blake, 17 male. Rosemary and I decided to take Blake in. Unfortunately, a few years ago, Blake got in a horrible car wreck that left him permanently disabled. Luckily, he can somewhat walk and talk and doesn't need 24/7 assistance around the house. But that's about it. Blake is an amazing person and he quickly became a part of our family. I decided to give the $100 allowance to Blake instead. He was beyond happy and grateful. I also made a hard decision and gave him my car. It's a 2022 Cadillac Escalade, and I was planning on getting rid of it this year anyway, since Lisa is turning 16 in a month, and I wanted to gift it to Lisa. Now it's Blake's car, and he absolutely loves it. He really needed a car because his mobility issues don't let him get around easily anymore, and it changed his life massively. Of course, Lisa didn't like it. When she realized that she wasn't getting any allowance, she called me and asked what's wrong. It was the first call I received from her in a year, if not more. I explained that now when my family had expanded, I'm not having enough money. I'll be still sending her mom the child support payments as per court order agreement, but she shouldn't expect anything extra. She asked me about the car since she knew about my plans on giving her a car. I told her that now the situation changed and I no longer could give her a car. I'll admit, what I said next was probably assholish of me, since I told her that I now have two children to play family with and asked her to stop pestering me. This caused her to blow up completely, to the point she got her mom to call me and scream at me, and so did her new husband. They threatened to sue me. Lisa said she'll go no contact and so on. I just brushed off the threats, especially since Rosemary is a lawyer, and I made my peace with poor contact with Lisa years ago. They also managed to write a few mean things to Rosemary and Blake, and this is what got me wondering whether I was an asshole here. I'm going to read a couple of Reddit threads before I give my take. I'm going to pause between each response that is on the same thread rather than say end response, as there are a lot I want to read. First comment thread. You're the asshole. You're the adult and haven't acted like it for basically her entire life. She was, what, 10, 11, 12 when you divorced? She takes after her mom, aka, I did absolutely no parenting and am shocked she acts like the parent who actually raised her. You distance yourself because a child said something mean? Oh my gosh, seriously? Will you do the same when your son does the same? Because guess what? No teen has an always positive relationship with their parents. More than likely, your kid will say, 1, they hate you. 2, you're ruining their life. 3, they didn't choose to be born or something similar. So you're just gonna dip when he gets to that stage? Worse, she was 7, as per OP's comments now. If every parent ditched their kid when they said something mean, self centered, or rude, this would be a world of orphans, especially kids whose parents are going through a divorce. My 4-year old told me he hated me for the first time earlier this year when I made him wash his hands after he went to the toilet. Should I kick him out? He doesn't contribute to the bills or anything either. Sarcasm. Mine uninvites me from her birthday multiple times a week, as if she thinks I want to be in a room of sugar crazed children instead of suffering through it for her sake. Plus, who did she think was going to make her cake, huh? Do we have the same child? My daughter uninvites me daily. That's fine, there will be no food and no one to pay the face painter. I was uninvited to his wedding many times. He was 4. My granddaughter, 6, keeps a running total of how many birthday cards she's going to give me this year, depending on how many treats I give her. I'm on -6. Trust me, I give her plenty of treats. I think she and my dog have the same system. I go no contact with my parents 4 times a day. I'm no contact with my parents. It helps that they both passed away. But I did warn them there'd be a day. Dot dot dot. That's so messed up. I'd go no contact with my toddler because he's basically terrorizing me, but I don't think that's allowed. Y'all haven't experienced a toxic relationship till you've had a toddler. 1 minute he's biting my perfectly defenseless toes and laughing at me, and the next he's telling me I have beautiful hair and he loves my face, lol. Love bombing after physical assault? Classic toxic relationship. My 3-year old has told me we are no longer friends, all because I told him he has a middle name. Mine tells me she's going to throw me out of the house and live with 15 cats instead. She's 5. My toddler often cuts me off from my grandchildren when she's mad. I really miss them. My life isn't the same sitting on the floor feeding Cabbage Patch dolls Legos. Time to go to court. Grandparents have rights. I don't know the law well, but does it still count if they're adopted and half cabbage? Time to consult. Is there a lawyer, Barbie? I'm a Barbie lawyer. Technically, you have to go to Cabbage Court and file for rights. The application has to be filled out with crayons and have a minimum of 5 stickers on it. Unless you use unicorn stickers, then you only need 2 of those. The application fee is 1 juice box and 5 pretzel sticks. My 4-year-old called me a bad mom today because I made her sit in her car seat. I replied, "That's okay. I am the worst mom, huh?" She said, "You're not really a bad mom. I'm just mad at you." I bet that's what OP's daughter would say if she recognized that's why she's mad. On Mother's Day, my 3-year-old told me I ruined his life because I said no to pancakes so we could have eggs. Guess what? I'm still his mom. I didn't abandon him. End comment thread. Second comment thread. Info. Whose fault was the accident that Blake was in? Oh, that's not actually important. I just want to know if you gave a kid who got into a terrible accident, speeding around doing dumb teenager things, a practically brand new $80,000 car. Wow. Yeah, you're the asshole. But I feel like you deserve it to be spelled out. You're the asshole. You are an adult. You left your child with your ex, and as things got tough, you bowed out of the relationship. When she got mad that you started a new family, you basically said, "Well, sucks to be you." And ever since have continued to care less and less about your own daughter and let her drift off. Let her drift off. Easier to pretend she doesn't exist than mend a broken relationship, right? Yeah, you get to do that with your friends. When it's your child, then you're the a hole. She was, and still is, a child. Divorce hurts. You don't like your ex, I get it. You got divorced. But your child was hurting, probably really missing her father. And instead of trying harder to repair the relationship, you gave up. On top of that, you stooped to a really childish retort. On top of that, you stooped to childish retorts? I bet you thought you were really clever with that clapback. That is a reason you are the a hole here, but definitely not the only one. Also, he said she hadn't called him in a year. Does he call her? Smells like a hypocrite. Immediately, my mind went, children are not responsible for maintaining a relationship with their absent parent. Fact. My dad dipped before I was born. When I was about to turn 18, my mom sat me down and asked me if I would like her to try and reach out to him and possibly make contact. I told her if he wants to meet me, then he can find me. I don't feel right going to him when obviously he didn't want me. I wouldn't be surprised if OP's daughter had similar feelings. Exactly. Phones work two ways. Also, it seems he cut off her allowance without actually telling her, or her mom. He just stopped sending it. The fact that she knew to ask about the car immediately lets me know that this isn't the first time he's taken away promised items. End comment thread. You're the a hole. And based on this diatribe against your daughter, who is still a child, I'm guessing you're the a hole in the previous divorce too. And you're the a hole as a parent throughout. And you're the a hole for thinking you can buy Blake's love with a car and $100 a month because it didn't work with your daughter. You're the a hole for thinking that you giving people things entitles you to their undying gratitude and affection, when you're obviously a terrible parent who can't even differentiate between your ex wife and your own daughter. And you've distanced yourself from your own child because you're so much the a hole that you have no sense of responsibility for the relationship other than thinking she ought to be indebted to you for tossing a pretty normal allowance in her direction, in addition to court ordered child support, which you obviously think she should be grateful for also. Even though you're an entirely absent parent who couldn't care less about her, you're the a hole because you're the adult here and a parent, and you couldn't really care less about your own daughter. Yup, you're the a hole in case you hadn't gotten that yet. End comment thread. Alright, this is my take. This guy really took the time to make a throwaway account, write this out, maybe give it a reread, and then thought to himself, yeah, this looks good. Posted it to Reddit with the mindset of being unsure if he is the a hole or not. In my opinion, he knew he was an a hole, but was hoping to get people on a large scale to make him feel better about himself and crap on his daughter. So, not only is he an a hole, but he's also a dumb A, because if he went to an estranged parent group, tag, community, whatever, they would have given him the pity party for his participation trophy he so greatly desired. But then again, that's mostly consisting of parents who have been estranged from, whereas he did the estranging. Side note, in my opinion, most of the parents who have been estranged from their kids really did it to themselves. As someone who went no contact with a parent, I gave said parent countless and countless of chances until finally I had to be the adult and take care of myself by cutting them out of my life. I didn't estrange myself from my parent. Their actions and lack thereof estranged themselves from me. Also, as I'm reading the comments, most of the examples are when kids are really little and saying insulting things. I'm glad most people recognize that Opie's daughter is still a kid, but we as a society need to understand and accept that passing the tween era doesn't automatically mean that they're being malicious when they say certain things. They're already being forced to grow up fast, and lashing out is the only way they can express emotion and have it be heard. There's a difference between knowing better and understanding better. We need to have more patience with teenagers because they are kids trapped in a near adult body. I noticed we tend to be less empathetic towards teenagers for the same reason. Because when we look at them, they look like they should know better, but in reality, they are kids. We should understand better, and we should be trying to lighten our kids' burdens, not become one. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for laughing at my son's divorce? I have two adult children who were immensely loved, but I've always believed that marriage comes first. I love my husband more than anyone in the world, and I made sure to prioritize our marriage and not be one of those moms. My oldest son is 25 and just filed for divorce after 4 years of marriage. I really disliked my daughter in law for personal reasons, but I also didn't like the way she treated my son. They have a beautiful 3-year-old son, but she began to completely ignore my son when my grandson was born. She prided herself on being a working mom, but couldn't juggle all three, and my poor son was neglected. Typically, I would have more sympathy, but she made a lot of derogatory comments about my parenting and marriage. She said she doesn't know how my husband and I could travel without the kids when they were young. It was about 1 or 2 weeks a year, and they were with their grandmother. She was insulting about the fact I baby my husband, and he is a quote unquote man child, and she embarrassed me at her bridal shower when she asked me for a piece of marriage advice, and then told me it was bad advice, and I'm just too old fashioned. Well, obviously, this didn't all work out too well for her. I was ecstatic when my son told me they were divorcing. She also used her son as a pawn and was always giving me conditions and acting like she was doing me a favor. I'm kind of enjoying the fact that she wanted me to have limited time with the kid, and now I have him for a week at a time because my son is living with us. But I've tried very hard to bite my tongue. She came over the other day to pick up her son, and my son had left. He always leaves and makes me deal with her, but that's a separate issue. She started talking about how weird it feels that they are divorcing and that she can't believe it's real. And I very nicely asked her if she still thinks my advice was bad advice. She burst into tears and left, and now I feel like an a-hole. She texted my son that I'm a bitch and he should be mad at me for laughing at his divorce. End story 2. First comment thread. In reference to OP's comment about my poor son was neglected. Give me a break. Is this code for he cheated? 4 years of marriage and he's calling it quits because she's more focused on the kid than on him is ridiculous. Oh, and treating your soon to be ex daughter in law and mother of your grandchild poorly is in bad form. You should be the bigger person and try to at least pretend to be supportive on all sides. You're the a hole in the biggest way here. Wouldn't be surprised if OP was one of the major causes of the divorce. Considering she laughed at the news of the divorce, I wouldn't be surprised if she was antagonistic towards the daughter in law when the daughter in law and her son were married. End comment thread. Second comment thread. In reference to Opie's comment about, she made a lot of derogatory comments about my parenting. You're the a hole. You're laughing at and ecstatic about your son's misfortune, divorce. So I can't say I think too highly of you as a parent either. Not to mention her grandson's misfortune. The real victim. Quoting OP's previous comment, she prided herself on being a working mom, but couldn't juggle all three. End quote. She's not a single mom. Maybe she should have had some help. From her husband? I'm surprised she's offended about other people's opinions on her parenting. It's not like her children are important to her or anything. They're not her husband after all. End comment thread. Last comment thread. I mean, yes, you're the a hole. You're obviously the a hole here. The question is whether you're a justified a hole, which you appear to think you are. There's way too much one sided info here for me to say everybody sucks here. But being gleeful about your son's divorce is enough for me to render this verdict. It really doesn't matter how bad you thought the relationship was. It's likely devastating for your son and grandchild. And, by the way, there are many people who don't agree that the marriage should come first, over the kids. The fact that you see that as a moral failing of hers versus a difference in philosophy is one of the reasons I'm not sure I can trust your characterization of your ex daughter in law. I have to wonder if the alleged insulting behavior from her ex daughter in law was just a reaction to OP's obvious superiority complex. Even the kindest people can be pushed to vengeance after being attacked for their character enough times. Also, love how OP made sure to tell us she didn't want to be one of those moms. Is this like the mom version of not like all the other girls? Disgusting. It is interesting what you pointed out. She says she doesn't want to be one of those moms, but then she helicopters over her adult son married life like it's any of her damn business. Sure looks like one of those moms to me. Right? And the weird possessiveness over the grandkid is just a red flag for me. She apparently doesn't give a crap about her son growing up with an emotionally distant mom, but she expects to see her grandson on her time. Speculation here, but I'd wager she'd been aggravating the situation since the beginning. I'd put $5 on that piece of advice being truly horrifying. You're the a hole ruling regardless, for much more solid points made other places here. End comment thread. My take. I already disliked OP when they said those moms. Does she mean those moms who care about their children more than anything? Both parents should care about the children before each other. Weirdo strike number one. Weirdo strike number two. She doesn't actually go into detail about what was specifically said, which leaves me to believe even she knows what she said was out of pocket. Weirdo strike number three. As I reread, I can't find even a sentence where there's even a 5% chance you're not the a hole, which means every sentence is a strike. As the Director of Human Resources for the Weirdo Administration, I am excited to say your Weirdo card has been revoked. Thank you. Story 3. Am I the a hole for saying divorce made my ex a better person and father? When we were married, my ex was an absent father and husband. He valued his business and status over us, and so I made the decision to leave. Deep down, I was hoping the divorce would be the thing to knock some sense into him, so he would realize our kids were more important, which it has. He's a much better father in person now. We have a wonderful co parenting relationship, and we no longer fight because the resentment I felt for him while we were married has faded. We married shortly after graduating, and it feels like he's gotten out of whatever fog he was in during our marriage and is back to being the guy I agreed to spend the rest of my life with. My former in laws see that we're getting along much better now, So my former mother in law brought up the possibility of us getting back together. We had a long conversation about it, and at one point I said something along the lines of the divorce making him a better person and father. I'm not sure who told my ex, as there were a few of his family members who could have easily overheard our conversation, but someone did, as he asked me if I really thought that, and I think he hates me now. We haven't fought since before I asked him for a divorce, and he clearly has some pent up feelings because he told me I was selfish and that I had ruined our children's lives. Because instead of admitting I needed more attention, I ran away from my problems. He's being cold and standoffish now. I've tried apologizing and being extra nice to him, but it only leads to him treating me worse. My former mother in law said he was hurt, and I should give him time. But am I the a hole? End story 3. First comment thread. Not the a hole. Divorce does make some people better. It forces them to take responsibility and become someone they, and often their children, can rely on. Some people also don't work as romantic partners, even if they work as friends. Somehow, I also doubt you asked for a divorce simply because you needed attention. It sounds more like you were tired of carrying his weight and yours. Also, if he's going to accuse you of not fighting for your relationship, it may be time for him to take a good hard look in the mirror, as it doesn't sound like he fought very hard for it either. He does not sound like a good husband, nor a good father, or rather like someone who has been on his best behavior because he was trying to get OP back. He doesn't think he did anything wrong in the relationship, nor caused the breakup, so he obviously learned nothing. Not the a hole. Second comment thread. Not the a hole. This is a very clear sign that you should not get back together, by the way. Stop apologizing and being extra nice to him. He's a grown up. You're not together anymore. Both very good reasons to stop coddling him. This. Stop apologizing as OP did nothing wrong. OP has a right to her opinions. Even if the ex didn't agree, OP can have their own opinions. The fact the ex is being so difficult now simply proves he hasn't changed much. Last comment. Not the a hole. You told your truth. Your ex is hurt because he believes that if you communicated with him, the marriage could have been saved. But I imagine you told him plenty before you finally decided to leave, and he just did not think you would go. That's not your fault. You probably grieved the marriage during the marriage, and he had to grieve once he realized the divorce was real. If you can talk to him, remind him that you fought for the marriage, but he would not change until you left. He broke your heart as well. Edit. You can have a tough talk with him, but he needs to apologize to you, to be honest, and take some ownership of his major role in dissolution of the marriage. End comments. My take. You're not the a-hole. Some people aren't meant to be together, and that's okay. What is great was your co-parenting relationship. Clearly his ego is what has been affecting everything. He cared about his status before, and clearly he still does now, but in a different way. Story 4. Am I the a-hole for making my mom cry by telling her that I hated what she planned for my birthday? For context, I am about to turn 18, and I have been excited to officially be an adult for a while now. A few months ago, the topic of what to do for my birthday came up, and both my parents agreed on doing a religious ceremony, and then a party with close members of our South Asian community. I personally just wanted something small, with a couple of my friends. The moment they said that, I immediately disagreed with the religious ceremony as I am an atheist as of now, and I find the whole ceremony tedious and annoying as it requires praying for a long time, and I personally do not like the monks that are reading it. The ceremony starts in the morning and ends around midday. My parents, however, were adamant on having it, as in their defense, they haven't hosted one in a long time. There was a lot of new renovations done to the house that they wanted to bless, and they wanted me to gain merits, which they believe will help my future and next life. I knew there was really no point in arguing, so I just went along with it. At the time, I didn't care much. Time skipped to a couple weeks before my birthday. My parents, specifically my mom, are stressed about the whole thing, as there is a lot to prepare, which I personally also hate, as I don't want to be stressed about preparations for my own birthday. My parents have also spent a lot of money for this, and I can't help but become more and more stressed about it as I am starting college soon, and I'd rather that money be used for tuition. I voiced my concerns and my dislike for the upcoming party to my mom, and she was instantly disappointed. I know that nothing can be done now, since stuff has been bought and people have been invited, but I really wanted my mom to know how disappointed I was, and I needed to vent about it. Anyways, my mom started listing the reasons I mentioned in the beginning, and I kept saying things like, next time I don't want this at all, and that I don't like to spend my birthdays like that. She shot back by saying that I always do nothing and worthless things on my birthdays. I always only invite a couple friends and do meaningless things, and that I never want to spend it with my community. And if I didn't do that, then basically I was alienating them. I just said that I enjoyed doing those worthless things. After going back and forth for a while, she completely just shut down and stopped talking to me. I'm getting tired of typing now, lol, but I just want to preface by saying that I know it's annoying to express my distaste so close to the event, but I just really wanted to vent and now I feel bad. Am I the a hole? My take. I want to start off by saying I respect all religions and faith. I don't respect the people who use it as a way to manipulate or antagonize others. Two things can be true. Most of the time, when people use religion and community in an argument to shame someone else, they end up being a hypocrite. Community is what you make. OP's friends are their community, so it is unfair for their parents to exclude them. They are basically saying your friends aren't worthy enough to be considered a part of your community. OP, I hope you have a great time in college. You deserve it. First comment. Definitely not the a hole. You are becoming an adult, and this painful process seems to be part of that for you. It's also painful for your parents. How close do you want to continue to be with them? If you're willing to quote unquote divorce them, skip the religious elements, play hooky, but be prepared to earn your own tuition and rent money. If not, suck it up for now and do something on an alternate day with your close friends. It isn't easy, I know. Best of luck. Second comment. Everyone sucks here. You least of all. Use this opportunity to mark the point when you commit to being honest and straightforward as soon as a conflict arises. If other parties are unhappy with your decision, then that's on them to handle. If your mother chooses to have a meltdown because you expressed your feelings, that's her choice. Last comment. A religious ceremony where the main participant is unwilling or unbelieving is meaningless. It's like getting married in church just because it's a pretty building. I think it's a bit too late to change your mother's plans for your birthday. You'll just have to grin and bear it. Hopefully, you can go out afterwards with your friends and do what you want to do. Story 5. Am I the a hole for moving out of my parents' house during their divorce? My parents got married young and had me in their teens. I, 15 female, grew up as someone they blamed their problems on. And honestly, they act like I'm the cause of their divorce. My choices in the divorce were to live with my mom and do weekly visits with my dad, or vice versa. But they, the social worker, pulled me aside and said I could also decide if I wanted to stay with my grandparents because they requested custody. There is nothing I would want more than to live with them. as they act more like my parents than my real ones. When my mom heard this, she got really upset at me and started calling me a bitch and an asshole and complaining that no one loves her. She called my grandparents and started at them too. My dad is a drunkie, and one of the only times he's sober, he tells me, "You're a bitch like your mom, and you're going to hoe around and get pregnant by the time you're 16." I, of course, got really upset and called the child service person and my grandparents to see if they could get custody. Well, they are, and my parents are really upset over this, especially because they believe they haven't been abusive to me. I'm at my grandparents' house officially now, and they keep calling me to scream and curse, and I feel really bad. My grandma tells me they're insecure and bad people, but I think I am an a hole for doing this to them. So, long story short, I moved out, and my parents keep calling me, telling me to come back home because they think I'm a bitch for leaving them. I'm starting to think I was too harsh, and some of my friends told me that I was being dramatic about it. Am I the asshole? My take. I am so genuinely happy you have people in your life who care about you. Your grandma is right. Listen to her. She knows what she's talking about. Verbal and emotional abuse is still abuse. First comment. Not the a hole. You shouldn't have to listen to their abusive messages. Tell your grandparents about the messages, and they either get a restraining order or block them on your devices. Nothing is your fault. You're the innocent in this situation. Good luck to you. Second comment. You're not the a hole. Your parents' marriage is not your problem, and nothing that happens in it is your fault. You absolutely did the right thing by turning to your grandparents where you feel safe and loved. Third comment. Not the a hole. You are smart to get yourself away from their abuse. They sound very immature and impulsive. Go forward with a clear conscience and make a wonderful life for yourself. Fourth comment. Not the a hole. I like your grandma. She seems wise. Last comment. Your friends think you're being over dramatic about leaving an abusive situation? Not the a hole. Stay with your grandparents and get new friends. All right, to wrap up this video, I chose a story of a parent who messed up and they owned it. Am I the a-hole by wishing my son happy birthday via a news tip? My son is a college student and he's been away for the summer, doing a news internship a couple states away. Last week he turned 21, and I hated the thought of him being in a strange city with no loved ones around, going through his day at work as though it were any other day. 21 is a big one. I sent a tip to the news tip line at the paper where his internship is and simply wrote, "Your intern, blank blank, is turning 21 today. Tell him happy birthday." Apparently, the editor received the tip in the morning news meeting and announced it amidst the expected cheers and congratulations. My son is enraged. He said I humiliated him and destroyed all the work he has done to appear a mature, independent adult. He spoke to me in a way I would never speak to my parent. Not the first time. I have since received a very nice email from his editor telling me how fun that was and how much they have appreciated having my son with them this summer. So I don't think I caused any damage as my son claims. I am devastated. I acted out of love and I've received hate and anger in return. I seriously don't think I did anything wrong, but perhaps my perspective is skewed. Am I the a-hole? So I'll read the comments after, but this is his update. Update. I appreciate all the feedback and points of view. It has helped me to see that while I acted with good intentions, I only considered how the gesture made me feel. I have texted a sincere apology to my son and will do better in the future. End story. My take. I know he lives far away, so texting is the easiest in this situation. But besides that, good for you for actually listening to what people had to say on this sub. Oftentimes, when people come on here to ask if they're the a hole and people say they are and explain why, they immediately deflect. It's like, why ask if you are only looking for a specific answer? So I'm assuming all these comments were before the update, and that's what led to the update. First comment: this is an act of love you do for a child, a kid. You would never do this for an adult. It would be very odd. As a parent, I'm surprised you thought it was cute to call his place of employment, his job, and send a professional message that mommy is still here monitoring this young professional's life. Of course he feels bothered, and you better believe the reporters in that newsroom are telling jokes about mommy calling. Hey Greg, we just got a hot tip on the newsline. Bedtime has changed to 9 p.m. Go track it down. Reporters in a newsroom are ruthless. You unintentionally and unequivocally undermined him. I think you should apologize and realize he isn't a child. He's an adult, out in the world, and you need to treat him as one. You're the a hole, light. You're the a hole, but a soft you're the a hole. I would be mortified at my first professional job if my parent contacted my boss's boss to tell them it was my birthday. Nowadays, I'd find it hilarious and endearing. A call directly to your son would have sufficed. But you definitely did it out of love. I would explain and apologize. Do not tell him the editor wrote you back. At least not right now. If it was fun and they appreciate him, then your son already knows what the editor thinks about him. Last comment. Wow, what a bunch of losers. Dot dot dot. Heaven forbid a parent loves their child this much. Not the a hole. Go ahead and downvote me. Y'all obviously either don't love your moms enough or they don't love you. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, whether you agree, are neutral, or disagree. Thank you again. Bye.